Hey students, welcome back to BBA Simplified by Dr. Vinky Sharma. Continuing with our marathon class on business organization and ethics, we will be covering today business unit and establishing a new business, that is unit 2 of the syllabus. In today's session, we explore business units, their meaning, features, types, and the complete process of establishing a new business from idea generation to the launch. This unit is extremely useful not only for exam preparation but also for students interested in entrepreneurship. So let's begin with understanding the meaning of business unit. A business unit is an independent segment of an enterprise that focuses on a specific line of products or services. We say that it functions with its own objectives, resources, and managerial responsibilities within the broader organizations. There are certain key points that comes under a business unit, that is, that it works to achieve specific business goals. A business unit also utilizes resources like manpower, machinery, material, and money. A business unit operates independently but remains connected to the parent company, so it can be a part of a larger enterprise. And then we say that it has its own authority and accountability. So it is a separate entity. For example, when we talk about the Tata Group, it has multiple business units such as we see Tata Motors, Tata Steel, Tata Consultancy Services. Each operates independently with its own objectives. Now, to understand the meaning of business unit better, we will now understand that what are the features of business units. The first feature is that it is an independent identity, which means, as we just discussed in the example, that each unit works with its own name, goal, and functions. Then we say that it has definite objectives. So every unit aims at profit, growth, and satisfying the customer needs separately. Then we say that there is a separate management, which means that there is a dedicated management team that oversees the operation of individual business units. Then is resource allocation. Resource allocations means that every business unit, they handle their own budgets and they use their allotted resources. No business unit borrows from each other. Then the next one is the profit or cost center, which means that there is a unit may contribute profit directly or operate as a cost division to the other. And then the last one is that the operational specializations, which means that it performs its functions like production, finance, marketing, or HR in a different way. So they perform the operations like all the other functions. So these features enable large companies to run multiple units smoothly. Now we talk about types of business units. These business units come in various forms depending on the nature of their operations. Like when we talk about manufacturing units, these units focus more on producing the goods. For example, automobile, textile, electronics, etc. Then the other type of business unit could be a trading unit. It involves in more of a buying and selling of the goods, like wholesalers, retailers, online sellers. Then another type is the service units. They provide the intangible services, like they provide intangible services like banking, hospitality, education, IT sectors. Then we have online or digital units. They operate digitally through e-commerce platforms like Amazon sellers, Flipkart vendors, digital agencies. And the fifth type is the strategic business unit or SBUs. They are found in large corporations. These are self-contained units who are responsible for their own strategies, profits, and market performances. So we see that each unit exists to suit the different business models and the customer needs. Now let's understand the meaning of establishing a business unit. We say that establishing a business unit means the entire process of creating a new business from idea to the actual operations. So what all does it include? It includes identifying the business opportunity, researching market demand, choosing a suitable location, maybe completing some legal formalities. There could be arranging finances, setting up infrastructure for that business unit, hiring more staffs, and finally launching the business. So this step-by-step approach ensures that the business is legally compliant, financially viable, and ready for successful operations. Now we'll see steps in establishing a new business unit. So we have already talked about these steps. We understand that to establish a new business unit, an entrepreneur must complete these steps. The first one is idea generation. So first of all, to start any business unit, there has to be a viable business idea. Once we have a viable business idea, then we begin with the market and feasibility study, just to ensure that what is the demand and do the competition analysis. Having the understanding of the market, then we move on to the business plan preparation, which gives us and create a blueprint for operations and for the finances required. So once this blueprint is made, then we move on to the location selection. We need to choose an ideal place based on the access, cost and facilities that we are getting into. So after selecting the location, then we move on to the legal formalities, which includes registration processes, securing licenses, because without these legal formalities, nobody can begin a business. Then we move on to arranging the necessary finances or the funds. It could be through banks or it could be through investors or maybe any other source of financing. Then we see that what is the physical infrastructure and staffing requirements. So we set up the physical and the human resource department. Then we move on to the production or service setup, wherein we ensure the operational readiness of the products. And finally, we move on to launching and promotion. That is, we officially start the operations and marketing of our business. So these 9 steps helps transform a business idea into a real functioning unit. We'll now see these steps one by one. The very first step is idea generation. So the first and most crucial step it is called, which is nothing but establishing a business, that is from idea generation. So the success of a business depends on identifying a profitable, unique and any practical idea. There are certain sources of idea from where we can actually get into this idea generation thing. So the first thing could be customer needs and the market demand. We need to check that what are the needs of the customers, what is more demanded in the market. Having understood this, then we move on to the technological trends or the innovations in the same field. Then we look at the competitors' weaknesses. What is the weakness of our competitor, right? And then we move on to the government schemes and incentives, whether they provide any schemes to establish the business or not. And then finally, we look at the entrepreneurial personal experiences and skills. So let's take an example here. Let's say that the rising need for fast delivery, right? It has led to businesses like Blinkit and Big Basket. So which started only after identifying the unmet customer needs. Therefore, a well-researched idea is the foundation of a success of any business. Alright, so once the business idea is finalized, the next crucial step is conducting a market and feasibility study. This helps determine whether the idea is practical, profitable, and has long-term demand. So, how do we actually conduct this feasibility study? It includes certain things. The very first thing that it includes is the market feasibility, wherein we understand the customer needs, the target market size, the buying behavior of the customers, and the competitor analysis. Then we look at the technical feasibility, which includes assessing technology requirements, equipments, and operational processes. Moving on to financial feasibility then, wherein we estimate the cost, revenue, the break-even point, profit projections, and the funding needs. Next feasibility includes legal feasibility. So here we check all the licensing requirements, the registrations processes, and the government rules that has been set for doing a particular business. And then we look at the operational feasibility. So it ensures that business can function smoothly with all the available resources. So this demand analysis comes under market analysis. Competitor analysis tells us that what are the weaknesses our customers are having so that we can create a competitive advantage over them. We also look at the cost benefit analysis, that is also a part of the financial feasibility. So, for example, before starting a cafe, the entrepreneur, they need to check the nearby competition, the demand for the beverages into that area, the location, the footfall, and the cost of the machinery involved. So all these things are required to do the market and feasibility study. Next, we move on to the third step, that is business plan preparation. So a business plan is actually a blueprint of your business. What does it do? It outlines the business idea and its goals, the strategies, and the financial forecasts. So therefore, we actually say that any good business plan should always have the description of the business, the very first thing, that what is the business all about. Then it should talk about its mission, vision, and objectives. The business plan should also include the market analysis, the product or service details. It should talk about the pricing strategy. It should talk about the marketing and promotion plans, right? It should also have the human resource plans, from where will they have their staffing done. It should talk about the financial projections and should also talk about the risk analysis. So, a well-prepared business plan, it always helps in seeking the loans, attracting investors, and guiding business operations. If our business plan is prepared well and if it includes all the important aspects, then it actually helps and is used for bank loans and the investors funding. For example, these startups, you must have seen these startup pitch business plans. Why do they pitch their plans? So that the investors should give them a seed funding, right? Or they do it in order to raise those funds from the investors. Therefore, all the important aspects should be a part of a good business plan. The next one is location selection. The location of a business directly affects its cost and profitability. A good location always helps in improving the customer's access. It reduces the transportation cost and also it boosts the visibility. So factors that influence location decision, they include the proximity of the customers or accessibility and proximity to the market, the availability of the raw materials, availability of the labor, transportation and connectivity, government policies and incentives, availability of skilled laborers, cost of land and rent, a very important point, infrastructure facilities and the competition in that particular area. For example, if we are opening a retail shop, so they always prefer busy markets. While if we are planning to open a factory, then it requires location which is very near to the availability of the raw materials, right? Similarly, if we look at the IT companies, they choose Bangalore for their talent availability. Then the fifth step is the legal formalities. Every business must comply with certain legal formalities before starting the operations. These differ based on the business from proprietorship, partnership, company or cooperatives. We will be talking about all these forms in the coming slides and units, but to understand it now, you must know that there are different forms of business also. So some common legal requirements includes registration of the business name and the type of the business, whether it is a sole proprietorship, partnership, LLP or a company, right? Then is obtaining business licenses, the trade licenses, the GST registration, the trade licenses from local authorities, import-export code if it is required, registration under the Shops and Establishment Act, environmental clearance for the industries, which is pollution, fire and industry specific approvals. So businesses that ignores any of the legal procedure, they have to face the legal penalties, restrictions or the shutdown orders. Therefore, these legal formalities become the very important aspect before we begin any of the business unit. Then the next step is arranging finances. Finance is the lifeblood of a business. Any new business would need funds for land, machineries, salaries, marketing, raw materials and maybe working capital. So we have to find out certain sources of finances, right? So there are basically internal sources of finances and the external sources. Internal sources includes personal savings of an individual, family or friend, retained earnings if they would have, and then there are external sources. So this own capital comes under internal source. Bank loans comes under external sources. Angel investors, venture capital, government subsidies, crowdfunding, they all are part of external sources. So a well-planned financial mix reduces the risk and also it ensures smooth operations. Moving on to step 7, that talks about the infrastructure setup and the human resources. So after securing the finances, the business must arrange for the infrastructure, both physical as well as organizational. So infrastructure, physical is the building and infrastructure in the organizational form is the human resources. So this include land and building, machinery, tools and equipments, office setup, raw materials and inventory, utilities like electricity, water, internet, the workplace layout, the safety measures, establishing the supply chain, setting up of IT system, right? So a good factory or a store layout, it always helps in improving the productivity, reducing the waste and enhancing the customer experiences. For example, if you go to any supermarket, you see the design of that supermarket or the store layout, it is made in such a way that it is guiding the customers towards all the essential sections. Then the next step is to begin the production or service operations. This stage actually transforms the business plan into real output. So production setup includes raw materials, installing of the machinery, setting the production processes, the quality control measures, procurement of the raw materials, inventory management, implementing the safety and maintenance standards. And for service business, the operations include designing service procedures, setting customer handling processes, training the service personnel and ensuring the proper tools and technology. For example, there is a garment factory that sets up a stitching lines, cutting tables, finishing units and quality checks before the production starts. And finally, we move on to the last step, that is launching the business. So after completing all the preparatory steps, the business is ready to launch, and this launch marks the official beginning of the operations. These launching can also be done in various ways. For example, there is a soft launch, which is a trial run. Then there is a final launch, final testing of the system. Then there could be some promotional campaigns, advertising. We can have an inauguration event. We can do some advertising in social media announcements. So this social media promotion also is too much into fashion these days. Then there could be some sales strategies wherein we can, begin with some startup or starting or initial customers discounts, special discounts, and we can also look forward for customer feedback loop. So we say that a strategic launch helps build the early customer interest and the brand awareness. For example, if there is a new restaurant, they often do a soft launch. They invite limited customers before they get into fully opening to the public or their full operations. Now let's understand that what is business promotion or the meaning of business promotion. Promotion means all activities that are undertaken to establish a business unit. And when we talk about a promoter, we say that promoters are the individuals who take the initiative to establish a new business. They are actually the creators, the planners, and the coordinators of the entire business formation process. There are certain features of a business promotion that includes identifying the business opportunities, conducting feasibility studies, arranging land, machinery and resources, mobilizing the resources, completing all the legal formalities, bringing the enterprise into the existence, hiring key personnel also. So the promoters sometimes they take early risk. They spend personal funds and build the initial structure which is necessary for the business to start. We will now understand that what are the different types of promoters. We see that promoters may be different depending on their roles and their involvement into the business. For example, there are professional promoters. Who are they? They are the experts who develop the new businesses, hand them over and move to the next project. Then there are occasional promoters. They are the individuals who promote the business occasionally. For example, inventors or innovators maybe. Then there are financial promoters. As the name suggests, we understand that we are talking about banks, financial institutions or the investment companies that promote the larger projects. And then there are government promoters. These government promoters are the representatives from the government. For example, IDBI and ICICI, they promote the industrial units. Also, if we talk about the startups or the founders, they are usually the owner promoters, right? Now we'll understand that what is the size of a business unit and how is it important. We must understand that the size of a business unit refers to the scale at which it operates. The scale of operation. That is, and what is scale? It could be small scale, medium scale or large scale. So this size affects the capital needs, the workforce size, operations, market reach and the technology. And when we talk about the types of business sizes, we are talking about the small size. So whenever we say that there is a small scale unit, of course the capital requirement would be low. There will be limited employees and the operations will be local. In case of medium size or medium scale units, the capital investment would be moderate and the management would be more professional. And in case of large scale units, there will be huge investments. There we will have to use the advanced technology. It could be national or international operations. For example, the Kirana shops, they are small units. The local manufacturing may be the medium sized, while the Tata Motors, if we talk about, they are an example of a large business unit. And this is what we have just talked about. So there are small scale, medium scale and large scales, right? The examples of these small scale could be local bakery, medium size is the regional clothing brand, and large size is like Reliance Industries or Tata Industries. Now coming on to determinants of establishing a new business unit, there are many factors that influence how a business is established. So it includes like nature of business, like whether it is a manufacturing need setup. Why? Because manufacturing needs more setup, services needs less. Then is availability of funds, that determines business scale and the technology. The raw material availability, so we need to look at the proximity because it reduces the cost. Then is market potential, the demand determines the growth. If the potential is high, the growth would be on a higher side. The technology requirements, we say that the high-tech industries, they need specialized infrastructure. Then there are government rules and incentives. So when we talk about the subsidies, they always encourage business location. Next is the labor availability. So if skilled manpower is available, then it will definitely improve the performance. Next is the transportation and logistics. We here talk about the essential for the, which is very, very essential for the supply chain and distribution of the products. The competition around it impacts the pricing and the location decision. And finally, the location and cost factors, which includes rent, electricity, taxes. It also affects the overall profitability of the business. So these determinants, they shape how the business is planned and how it is going to launch. Then we look at the determinants of a business unit size. The size of the business unit, it depends on several important determinants like the nature of the product. So if the product is perishable, then it needs smaller units. Then another determinant is the production method. Automated processes, they require large units. The scale economies, larger units obviously reduces the cost per unit. More the scale, less will be the cost. The managerial capacities or the ability, so better management supports the expansion. Market demand, when we see, then higher demand requires larger production. The government regulations, some industries have size restrictions, so that needs to be checked. And then finally, the risk bearing capacity. The entrepreneurs with higher risk tolerance, they expand faster. So we see that each determinant actually influences whether a business remains the small or it grows into a larger organization. Now we quickly summarize today's session where we'll see that what all have we learned today. We have understood that what is the meaning and type of the business units. We had then seen various steps in establishing a new business unit. We have understood that what is promotion and what are the different types of promoters. We had then finally understood that what is the size of a business unit and different determinants of the sizes and establishment. We'll quickly have a look on the important exam questions which have been coming in the previous years. Like define business unit, explain its features. Describe these steps in establishing a new business. What is promotion? Explain its characters. Then is write a note on size of business unit, and finally discuss determinants of establishing a business unit. Thank you so much for learning with BBA Simplified by Dr. Vinky Sharma. In the next video, we will be talking about Unit 3, that is Forms of Business Organization. Do like, share and subscribe for more marathon classes. Thank you so much for watching.